Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is week 2 on the Granny's Hot Rod / Hillbilly Jalopy. Got a lot of really nice responses over the weekend, reading the comments on the YouTube page about this kit. I didn't know it was as popular as it was. I kind of thought I might be the only person that knew about this thing. I know that's a horrible conceit and you know all of that, but I just didn't realize it was on it that much in the public conscience. So that's gratifying. Excuse me. Still haven't got rid of that darn cough from London yet. But here's the thing. I also got a lot of really good suggestions about things to include and things to put in the back and things to be on the lookout for. So much so that I have to start that thing. It's that thing that happened to me back when I was working on the Galileo TV set. I have to limit my scope. I have to keep to the things I was thinking of, pick up the good ideas that I've heard, but not get so enamored of everything that I heard that I overstuff this thing. Now, it's important that it looks like it's, bogged down with a bunch of things, but the best advice I got was, hey, make sure you don't put too much stuff on the back to where it lifts the front of it up. You want to make sure it's balanced. And I can add some, lead weights to the underside of the front if I need to, just to make sure that it doesn't tip up. But I need to make sure that I am conscious of that I don't overstuff it. And the other thing this was something realization that I came to on my own, and that was that I was missing something. This was lacking something, and that was tools. Like pickaxes and shovels and rakes and things like that. And I talked to Jeff, and he got me some files over the weekend. I am running a test print now because I had to re-level the bed. So I am running a test print, and then we'll get to that. If that turns out okay, then we'll get to printing up a new plate full of these little things like shovels and rakes and things like that. That big rake here that went on the front, I'm going to try to scratch build something like that out of toothpicks, because that's basically a big hay rake. I thought it was a drying rack. It could have been. It could be used for both, I suppose, but it's basically a big hay rake. So I'm going to be doing stuff like that and seeing what I can scratch build. I don't have to print everything just because I can. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to work on. And then, of course, we've got the twine issue, because we want to start roping some of this stuff down. So I'm thinking, if I were to tackle this as a real hillbilly, what would I do? Well, I'd build my base up. I would first put the things down that are going to stay, and then fill in my little stuff around it. So I'm thinking that I probably want to run, outside of me gluing the bench down, which is what, you would obviously do. To make it look right, you probably would run a rope to rope it down as well, so that it looks like it's not going anywhere. And then we would also run a rope over these back boxes to hold it down to the bed as well. And then we've got those front barrels and everything. I think the first thing I want to do before I start attaching things to the truck is to make sure that I am happy with the amount of aging that's happening on the truck. Now there's some, this is still kind of awfully neat and clean. I still want to put some rust and some flaking looking paint here, and get that ready before I start strapping things down, because it's going to be a lot easier to get to it now than it will be later. And I also want to see if this bed is going to be staying that color, or these rails, because all of my other stuff that I'm attaching to it is awfully similar in color. And I think what I need to do is either darken this down a little bit or lighten it up a lot, because it is the same color as a lot of my accoutrements, and I don't want everything to kind of blend together. I would like it to stand out. So I'm thinking maybe darkening this down a little bit so that the stuff stands out better against it. As much as I like the wood on that, I think I might lighten the sides, but I think I need to darken the bed. So I'm going to take a wash over that just so the other stuff stands up. And then some of these, some of these smaller apple carts or apple crates, I can either put some dry brush some paint color over them, like they were chipped red bushel baskets or things like that, or do something else to differentiate them from that wood, because that right now is my biggest problem. Having sat with it and looked at it all weekend, is that was a massive brown with not a lot of breakup in it. Oh, and another thing, and this was something that Phil on my Across the Pond chat on Saturday morning pointed out. We started looking at some references, and Phil noticed that there should be a hole right here, because chances are it is in one of the references. There's a hole there because you would have used a crank to start the motor, and there's no crank hole there. So I'm going to drill a crank hole in there. Not going to leave the crank there, but I'm going to drill a crank hole in here to make it just that much more accurate. It's an easy fix for something that maybe should have been there all along. And that's where we're starting as we start off this second week. So I'm looking forward to doing the detailing work. I'm going to try my hand at seeing if I can sculpt up a blanket or a throw with epoxy sculpt, and then maybe cover that with a decal of a pattern, sort of like what I did with Princess Vespa's luggage on the Eagle 5. But find a quilt pattern that I can print, or maybe make a quilt pattern, draw up one, and see if I can get it to lay over the printed or the sculpted blankets, that kind of stuff. So we could be having a lot of fun this week. We could also be witnessing a lot of neat ideas that look good on paper that don't turn out. So take your bets as to what the ratio is going to be to good ideas to successful ideas, and place your bets, because we're ready to start work on the second week of the jalopy. Okay, I don't mind telling you, this is a desperate attempt to add some color to the back of the bed here. And what I've done is I've just taken the wooden crates, and in my own mind I have said, you're going to buy apple crates at the general store. Sometimes they might be painted, and the paint would have worn off. They're not, certainly they're not new. They're old apple crates, but they might have a trace of the original color on them. Or Granny might have used it for crafting and painted one up. Ellie Mae could have painted one up. Jed or Jethro could have painted one up. But something to add a little bit of spice to these otherwise drab wooden crates, and that gives me a little bit of color here. And what I'm going to do now is, now that I've got the hints of paint on them, I'm going to go back over the high spots with a brown where the paint would have been worn off. But we can start with it. And I'm also putting some paint on the toolboxes. I'm going to do my own nod to the Enterprise and make, one toolbox red, one toolbox green. Certainly not unusual, but I'll put the green one on the right side and the red one on the driver's side and the green one on the passenger side, like they were formation lights, because I want to. No other good reason than that. I gotta dingy them up though. I gotta put some rust on them and some silver highlights on them where they got banged around a lot. But having put some color on these, I'm just going back over that and kind of knocking them down some so that they don't look brandy new. Do some splotchy, bring the wood color back out. Now I'm careful to not put any paint on the bottom, because they wouldn't have been. They'd have been stacked this way, and you wouldn't have painted. You wouldn't have wasted any color on the inside. You wouldn't have wasted any color on the bottoms. So I'm just doing a little bit of agey. And you know where it's going to wear around the top edge, where you're picking it up. That's where the most of the wear is going to happen. And I'm still thinking of ideas for things to put in these buckets. And this also helps Granny's plinth or her pedestal, that it's got some color in it, and it'll stand out from the bed of the truck, which I have dirtied down some. I put some more petroleum spill, and I put, you know, because you got Texas tea, black gold, Jed would have gotten oil all over everything on his way back from shooting up some food. You get some of that bubbling crude everywhere, so I dirtied up the back of his bed a little bit more, and that allowed me to get some contrast and color in there. But I'm thinking of taking something like these small boxes and filling them full of, putting moonshine jugs in them, that sort of thing. So it gives some context as to why you would have these carts and crates around. And once I get, let's see, I put more color on the bench, and I've actually glued the bench down. That's weird. This is giving a green cast in here, and it really isn't. It's more of a glossy than that. But I put some actual rusting texture around the door and around the bottom of the tub there, and on the split of the hood. And that's about where I want it to be. I don't want it to be too decrepit. But we put the spare in here. And let's see, the spare goes there. I think I'm going to put the butter churn up in here, and then this small barrel right like that. And then the other barrel goes here. These are the barrels that came with the kit. And then I've got barrels that I've printed that are much larger than that. And I'll probably only have room for one or two, even though I've printed much more than that. I'll probably only put one or two back here. You're just going to be all kinds of difficult, aren't you? Till I glue you down, you are just going to give me all kinds of trouble. Stay. And then to finish this up, I would wrap some of this cording around it, and I'm going to have to tack those off. I can't really tie tiny knots in it like it should have, but I think what I can do is just touch it to with some CA and give the impression that it's been tied off somewhere. The thing about the headlights I noticed this morning, again looking at the one big reference that I want to use for most of everything, it does not show any front glass in them. It shows them as hollowed out things. And so I don't think I'm going to put the front glass in my headlights. It also has this going on, where there's the cable, where the cording is actually wrapped around the radiator knob here. And I got to be careful because that's glued on and I don't want to pull it off. But it looks something like that. And then it wraps around the barrel and then ties off. So I'm going to have some fun doing something like that. And I think the only way to do it really is to start at one end, glue it, and then, you know, go feature by feature and just wrap it around whatever. Oh, stay over there. You just stay there until you know what you're doing, till you think about what you've done. Things like the Granny's, or not Granny's, the couch here, the bench, even though it's sitting there, I still want to give the impression that it's tied down. So I would wrap, you know, one of these between or underneath the couch, but I would tie it down to both sides of the bed. Okay, running into some issues here. Using this twine wasn't nearly as painless as I thought it was going to be, nor was it as simple. So I think I'm going to have to back up and punt and use something else. It just doesn't want to cooperate. It's the right scale, it's the right color, it's the right texture. I'm missing something when it comes to skill as far as how would I lay it down and get it to stick where I want it to go. So, having said that, you back up. See, I got some stuff done with the rope, and back here it kind of looks okay. The knots I knew were going to be a problem, so I was trying to just make little glue nuggets for those. Where it came to making something a little bit more intricate, it's no bueno. I think I'm going to have to go with wire. I tried doing some wire up front here. Let me move this stuff off because this is not glued down. Up front, maybe that wiring is the better way to go. I'm not happy with that color. I think I've got something that's a different color of brown. I wish I had something that was lighter. I don't think I've got, I know white is too bright, and I don't think I want to use a yellow. It's tough to find a tan wire. I don't necessarily want to use something that has a stripe in it. I'd rather use a solid color. I'd rather not have to paint it. So I'm left with trying to find some tan wire. That's a little bit better. But I'm trying to find something that I can use, that I can wrap around all the places that I want it to wrap. I can't pull it tight because the parts break. It obviously is weaker or stronger than the bond of glue on plastic. It's tough. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to make it work, and now I've got a bunch of schmutz up around the radiator cap that I don't like, and I'm wondering if I can clean that off, or is it just going to take a lot of paint with it? Should I wrap some more of this wire around it to hide that? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Okay, so the wire idea was a bust too. I'm back to using the twine, but I am untwining it. There are 3 strands here, and I am taking one of the strands out and making it only using 2 of the strands. It doesn't make it any easier to work with. I'm measuring my rate in millimeters per hour, but I think I've got to show you how tough this is. I'm going to do some cleanup on the 3D parts because I need the rest. That's how stressful this part it has been today. Not going as easily as I would have liked. Now all of this stuff back here, it gave me a false sense of security because this went really nicely. But wrapping that stuff in and around there, and all I can see is the really glossy CA, and I'm going to have to go back over that with a flat. Maybe do the whole thing with a flat to get rid of that gloss where the CA has been hit. But that's all I can really think to do. And even that has been a stressful thing. But it gives me the right texture and it gives me the right color. So we keep that in the back of our heads, and we take it as a victory as we go. But let me go clean off some more 3D printed parts, and we'll show you what those are made up of. I'm happy about that bed frame. I like it. Of course, we've got Granny up here, and I think what I'm happy to report is I've got a couple more rocking chairs come off of the print this time, which I will cut the rockers off of and make actual chairs. Let's see. Yeah, by the time I put that barrel in there, we may be done with as far as extra parts. I've got another ladder that I've printed for that side, and then I've got these wash basins and stuff, but I may end up just gluing them together and then giving an indication of the rope rather than trying to make the rope look like it is logically holding them together. We'll end the day on a high note. Did get some successful prints, not all of them, but some of them. Got finally, after how many tries, I got the round basin, which is basically the same file as this, except I had distorted this one, scaled it one way but not the other. It's basically the same file as that. But this one printed first time. This one, I don't know why, it just wouldn't print. But now I have a round basin, and I can take 2 or 3 of these, stack them like that, and go paint them up and attach them here. I've got, well, let me see how cool, if I can do this. I've got some rakes and shovels and axes and just dead handles. This was supposed to be another shovel, but the shovel part of it didn't print. Got 2 more rocking chairs. Like I said, I'm going to probably cut the rockers off of those and just use them as regular chairs. And I'll see if I can find a way to strap one of those in. And I've got another ladder, more importantly, and that ladder is going to go on this side, kind of balance out the other side. Plus it gives me a nice platform to attach a bunch of stuff to, like these, like the aforementioned basins and such, and even another bed headboard. Don't need it, but I printed it anyway. So when you don't need it, that's when they print just fine. But when you need it, boy howdy, it gives you a fit to do anything with it. The other bit of good news is the flat coat, the matte varnish. I was able to paint on there, and it did seem to get rid of a lot of the gloss left over from the CA. So I feel happier about having to use the amount of CA that I did on that ropage, and it gives me hope to continue on with that tomorrow. Righty ho, friends and neighbors, it's Tuesday and we are back in the thick of it. I need to run out, pick up some new CA. This thing I think I run completely out, and for some reason my really thin CA, it don't work no more. I don't know whether CA goes bad, whether I got a bad batch or what, but the thin CA, I could lay it on, I could hit it with the kicker, it still wouldn't stick, it wouldn't go off. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to pick up another darn jar of it. I'm also out of gunmetal paint, which, as you know, is a big portion of this build, so I need to pick up some supplies. If I can, if they've got it, I need to pick up some more matte varnish while I'm at it as well. The one hobby shop that's closest to me doesn't really have a large variety of stuff, but they do at least have basics like CA and the basic Tamiya colors. So we're going to go pick some of that up. Weather's supposed to turn foul this afternoon, but I want to get all my running around done this morning before that happens. And then we can go get back into the work that needs to get done. I've been painting up the things that I printed yesterday. I think I'm done printing. I don't think there's anything else. Anything else I need to do, I can do with epoxy sculpt. I think I am. I need to stop at this point. I've got way more stuff printed than I will ever be able to fit into this truck, and I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overstuff it. So that's where we are. That's where we're at. I also got an order in from Cult TV Man, so I need to start plotting that and have that going in the background. So you might hear some of that later on today. This morning I took a couple of minutes and put some handles on these buckets, on these wash bins, and all that is a leg of an LED, because they're easy to bend. And you can see the I just glued them on. They don't have to be completely clean, and I might put some rust around there. These would have been like galvanized steel pans. So I'll do a little cleanup on those, but those are going to end up getting. What I wanted to do was give me a logical place to grab these. If I was going to glue them to the side of the truck, that I could run a rope around the handle to give it a logical place for it to be attached. And something of that small of a detail, I don't need to print that. I can scratch build that stuff. Okay, so we've got a bit of a break in the plotting right now, so I thought I would try to get a word in edgewise when I wouldn't have to shout. And I knew it was going to come down to something like this. because I can only put off the inevitable for so long, hemming and hawing and second guessing. But once I start laying stuff down, it just starts falling into place. Now, I have started putting some of these details in place. Now, oops, you could tell there's a couple of things that have not been glued down, but practically everything else has. Got the toolboxes in. I did that hay rake this morning. That's made out of toothpicks and such. Snuck it under the rope there. Got the spare tire. Now I know the spare tire wasn't always there, but I like the look of it. It kind of feeds into the chitty bangness of it. So I decided to put that in. Fills in that gap nicely. Drilled the hole for the crank, the non-existent crank. I started to glue things in on this side. I've got the second count. I've got the second ladder in. I've got the one of the wash basins. I've got the sharpening stone. Granny's chair is now glued down. The only thing I have, the recurring thought is, why am I doing this to myself? This is a lot of fiddly work. I'm working on these little barrels here that I've got that I've got tools in. The nose will go in place, but really we're down to starting to glue the big chunks in. I've got the bed frame. That's all going to go on this side. I have to decide about these boards, these planks. Do I want to put them in? I think I do. I like the look that it gives me, but I also like being able to see through that the side slats and see into that bed frame. And when I have those planks in there, that kind of closes that all off. There's still some tiny stuff to do, like when time comes, I'll be hanging the hurricane lamp off of a rope here or some non-existent thing. Let's see, like I said, I've got the toolboxes in. What I'm going to be doing now is painting up like the moonshine jugs and get those ready to go. I've got a lot of stuff that I've printed that I don't have room for, frankly. I knew I was kind of like doing that, but when I print, I have a tendency to over duplicate things because it's, like I say, belt and suspenders, but also it helps me if there's a print failure on a couple of them. As long as I get one good one out of it, it doesn't cost me any more time to print 3 barrels as it does to print 1 barrel. But if I only need 1 barrel, then the other 2 go into this ever enlarging drawer of extra 3D printed props that someday I can go back and ransack for other needs. You know what? I think maybe one. Let's see what one of those boards looks like. If I put 1 board here and then put the bed frame in front of the one, do I like that or no? I like this coming off the back here, so I think I'm going to, and I might even do that. Oh, that would be an idea, because if I did that, then I could hang the lamp off of that and it would act maybe like a turn signal or something. That's a thought. So we'll keep this to 1 board and then the bed frame. Now I've got to put the other wash basin, something like that, covering up the front of that. I still haven't done what I'm calling the soft things yet, which would be like bags of flour, bags of corn, things that would maybe go up on these benches. I've got, like I said, I've got the moonshine. I've got a moonshine jug for there. Also, what I'm calling the soft object, it would be like a blanket. I think I'm going to put like a bag of feed here, and a throw or an afghan or something, a quilt over something. It won't be stretched out, but maybe bunched up and then draped over the side. Something smaller maybe for Granny's chair, and that would allow me to, I still have some room in the cab here since I don't have any passengers, that I could put either a jug of moonshine on the seat which, you know, is really good for promoting drunk driving. But something like that, or maybe a throw or some other thing that needs to go down into floorboards there. But I've got these 2 barrels that I could stick in the back. I've got this crate here, and if I want to, I could put maybe another crate on top of it. Take the stuff out of it. Put both the crates back here, sort of like this, with this crate on top of it, and still fit underneath Granny's rocker. Do something like that just to give me some interest. And then maybe 1 barrel here, another barrel on that side. And if I took this last board, shoved it back here, that would give me something that if I wanted to, yeah, it's coming together. But like I said at the beginning of all of this, I have the feeling that once I get started, I'm just gonna blaze through it and get it all put down. And yeah, maybe I could tie a couple chairs together and stick them off the back. Yeah, okay, we're getting there. And once everything is done, then I can go through and kind of see what parts are remaining, what parts are visible, and then I can do some final touch-up paint on just those parts. Okay, we're getting there. We're down to the final little bits and bobs here, and I'm starting to think about making sure that I'm not going too wide with the load. I was thinking of putting maybe these chairs out to the side here, but I think that would end up making it too wide. So I'm going to stick with the depth of these wash basins. I've got one facing in. I got to do something with the top of that ironing board. I think I need to paint the fabric that would be on the top of that. And I'm going to do one facing out. And then there's room for something left here. I don't know whether that will be room for maybe a bag of flour or something. I've certainly got room for that kind of stuff up in the seating. Right now I am going to be painting the moonshine jugs. That's the next thing. I've got a bunch of these that came with the kit that I want to paint so that I can put some of them in the crates and pepper a couple of them around, fill up some space. And then I think to finish the day, I will make up the feed bags and the curtains or the blankets. But everything that's here now is glued down. I'm kind of wanting to put something here, but I don't know. Oh, I've got the horn to go there yet. So it makes sense if I've got the horn to go there. That will fill that visual area up, and I won't have to put something in front of it just to, like I say, just to fill space. Okay, so we're at the great place to stop for today. I don't need to get everything done. I got quite a bit done, though. I've got all of the stuff is in. You see the raw epoxy sculpt over the cushions and the feed bags and things like that have not been painted up. Obviously, I've got the moonshine jugs here also ready to go. Now I need to put a gloss on those because if I'm remembering correctly, a lot of this pottery is glazed, so we can put a clear coat on that. And we've got some stuff left to go, like these barrels are not glued in. This tool barrel is not glued in, but I'll go ahead and put the last jug there. But a lot of what is left is touch-up paint. I'm going to run one final thing of rope, like over top of some of this stuff to help, what would it look like if it were all tied down, that type of thing. So I have to tie down the big wash basins and things like that. that's something that's left that needs to be done, but I don't need to do it all today. I need to let all this stuff dry, come back to it, see how I feel about it tomorrow, and continue on the work. I got, like I said, quite a bit of it done. It is not back heavy. A lot of my weight is right here over the back axle, so we're not too cantilevered here. I'm not worried about it tipping back or anything. Everybody, welcome. It is Wednesday, fabulous Wednesday. The storm that we were supposed to get yesterday blew through late last night. I thought I heard a branch drop, but looking around this morning, I don't see any sort of damage commensurate with that. So we're getting on with the getting on. I spent this morning feeling like a fly fisherman, tying elaborate flies, because what I've done is I've gone through and I've tied down the buckets, tied down the big wash basins. I got this one tied down, and I tied these ones down. Now, of course, they're not holding up anything. I'm just basically taking a piece of the twine and then just gluing it over top of that, looping it around and gluing it down, trying to make it look like a knot. But oh, I wish that printer would stop. It's just making all kinds of noise. But we are down to it, I think. The last bits. Now these were the bits that I did in epoxy sculpt yesterday, and we're seeing how I put a base coat of white on them, and any coloring we do is going to go on top of that. But I think what I'd like to do, because I'm thinking what's missing. Well, what's missing are two things: any sort of food, but we're not going to put any food in there. I thought of maybe like putting filling up one of these crates with potatoes or something. But that's, I think, just getting too precious with the whole idea. And the other thing that I think we were missing was some sort of, and it would be a good excuse to put color in, would be if I rolled up some carpet or some rugs, that sort of thing. And I think I may do a couple of those, but I'm wondering the best the underlayment for the carpeting. Do I just print it on paper? How is paper going to look? Is it going to be thick enough? That kind of thing. So I think we're going to be pretty close to finishing this off today. If not, we're going to get darn close. I've spent today running back and forth between two different jobs. I've been putting together an order for Steve, and I've been working on the jalopy here. And what happens is I sit down and I work for a little bit, and then I get up and walk away and think about what I've done and go put together some more of the order, and then I come back after I've gotten another brilliant idea. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I thought of something else that might be missing, and that might be some jars of something. So I don't want to get into the place where I am just throwing stuff on here just to keep throwing. It was a common problem I had with the Galileo set build. It's a problem I have whenever I am junking up, and adding detail to something. Is where in the blessed Lord Jesus' name do you stop? And so that's where I'm kind of at. I'm stopped. I like the bulk. I like the silhouette. I still need to add color to these bits that I have done in epoxy sculpt, but I think I am done adding parts. I could not use the printer for making decal paper because I was obviously making instruction sheets and getting the order ready, so that's what the printer was being used for. So now that that's all done, I'm going to try, I got to run that order to the post office. That's what I got to do. And then when I come back, I need to see about adding color. And the last thing I did that you probably did not see on camera involves this rope on the back that kind of ties everything across here. And I thought this might be a good place to put the hurricane lamps. Now, I've got open links holding these in, and I would close those links back up. These are just necklace chain links that are attached to the rope there. But I thought that was a good way of addressing the fact that this has no rear tail lights. Well, all tail lights are in the rear. That's why they call them tail lights. But it has no way of alerting the driver behind you that you're that you're there. So I kind of like that. It's a question of finishing the detail on the red paint here, and then using a bit of CA to knock them in place. There's that. There's the coloring of some of this stuff, and then there's one last grouping of tools. One last group of tools that I want to put here. I want to stand them up all together, sort of like you would have on the inside of a rack on a closet door of a work shed. I just need to come up with some sort of structure to attach all of these, and then attach them to, attach them all together, and then nail that to the side of the rack there. Folks, it's time for the grand experiment. I have found a bunch of quilt patterns online, a bunch of graphics. None of them are the exact quilt that was used, but that's okay with me. And I've printed it on the famous laser decal paper, and I just did a few. I only really have room for one, so I chose this one. And we're going to dunk it in the old water and lay it over top of this shape, and we're going to see how well it comes out. We're either going to get a nice blanket out of this, or I will be issuing a blanket apology. So let's see. I am going to need a wide enough brush to gush the water out. Let's see. Let's find a wider. Well, I don't really have a nice clean wide brush. I must go brush shopping again in the near future. Let's see. That's a good one, I suppose. And let me go get some of the salt of the micro set. Okay, micro set at the ready. I'm going to coat this while I can. If I'm remembering correctly, the homemade decal stuff required a lot of time in the water. Don't want to break this. It could be fragile. Careful, careful. Okay. I'll pull that out. How is this work? Oh, it's coming off. It's off. So, if this is going to sit like that, well, there's no real other way to do it but to just lay it on here and see how well it's going to fit. I'm glad I printed extras, because I need to wrap this around the top. Interesting. Come on, behave. Be nice. Okay, we got that going. I don't care if this wrinkles. That actually will add to the niceness, the reality of it. I don't think this is big enough. Luckily, I printed more than one. Put this to this. Actually, you know what? Let's put that on one of these smaller. We've got these smaller pillows. I can use this for that. Use that, and then this one. Okay. Set these down that way and let them dry. This is a mess. This isn't anything like I was hoping. Aren't you glad you get to see this on film? Directly on, straight to video here. Let's cut this one, which is a larger one. Let's use this one. Is that the right, was that the one I want to use? It's the same pattern, the same general look. Wanted to find something that was at least, well, you want to go with something obviously Americana, but then above that you want to go with something that might have the appropriate region to it, something that looked like it might have come from Appalachia. Something with a hillbilly heritage, if you will. Wrap you around here. I'm just going to cut this off while I am waiting for that. It's almost like that, what they call it, the hydro patterning thing, where they take something and dip it in a big vat of water that's got a decal resting on the surface. There. That's a nice pillow. Let's see if I can do the same thing here. And then just wrap that around the underside of that. Yeah, I'll let those dry. Now this, okay, that's coming off of there. Stop it. I'm going to end up breaking this thing, I just know I am. Not wild about that. I'm losing all of the pattern here. I don't know if I like that or not. Cut some reliefs into it. I don't like that either. The pattern is too big. If that were on an actual blanket, it would be like each square would be a foot. It's too big. Those are all going to be the same. Let me try one. Let me try this one then. It's the only one that's really left. Might have to try this again tomorrow, since we're at the end of today, with something that's got a lot more greens and yellows in it. If I don't like this one. Pop that into water. Okay, that. Clean that up, clean that up. Get out of there. I hate when something gets stuck to my finger. Okay, one last try. Let's see how this one works. Is the third time the charm? Are we gonna like this? Certainly by the third time I'm applying these, I would hope that I am getting better at it. Like I said, I don't care if it wrinkles. I don't care if it rains or freezes. As long as I've got my plastic Jesus riding on the dashboard of my car. I thought that might have been a good idea. Ha ha ha. Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, that was a big mistake. Well, let me see if I can straighten this back out. Nice thing about this material is it's very resilient. This takes a lot of tugging. Most decals would have given up the ghost by now, but this is letting me unfold it. It's amazing. Okay, you go in the crevice there, and I will cut some reliefs into you so that you wrap around. Unfortunately, this is looking more like a beach towel than a quilt. Okay, let's let that... That's not so bad. Not so bad. We're going to let that dry. By the time we stick it over top of the bench like that, how's that going to look? Not great. Not great. But the nice thing is, I have time to make another completely new one if I want. As a matter of fact, I think what I'd like to do before we close up for this evening is I will pull out some more epoxy sculpt, and I'm going to do a bigger, flatter version of this that I think might give me a happier result. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. We are rapidly running out of things to do on this kit. I think we will be finishing either today or tomorrow. Certainly, I'm not going to carry it much further than tomorrow. I started thinking about, well, maybe I need to put this on a nice little base and do a back wall. And then I slapped myself silly and I said, stupid. The reason you're making these smaller kits is because you don't have room. So stop trying to expand the kit beyond the confines of the kit. Right now it will sit on a shelf very nicely, but if I start making streets and back walls and the doorway of the Clampett mansion and all that kind of stuff, it's like it makes no sense. You are defeating your own purpose. So I had to, like I said, I had to smack my hand away from that idea. I'm trying to see today if I've learned anything from yesterday, and I have pretty good short-term memory. The long-term stuff, not so good. But the short-term memory is telling me that when I put the decal on this piece yesterday, I wasn't wild about it for two reasons. A, I thought the piece was the wrong shape, and B, the decal is very clear, and it needs to have a colored base behind it, and the white that I used yesterday was too bright. So I made a second blanket, and I've painted it ivory. I want to warm up that color and give it a warmer base for the pattern that's going to go on top of it. Plus, I wanted to make it larger. And then I looked at myself and I went, hey, you really liked that bench when you painted it, and why are you covering up that nice bench that you like so much? And then and then I also repeated to myself. See, I talk to myself an awful lot. I don't know if you do, but I do. Is this thing on? Anyway, back when this bench was the only wooden piece on the bed, it it was important that it looked good and look like wood and all of that kind of stuff. But now that it's only one of many, it's not that important anymore. It's a nice piece and a nice substantial platform for what else has to happen around it, but it's not the only piece of wood back there anymore. So I have to balance the needs of the many versus the need of the one bench. So I've decided that covering it up and giving this one mass of color here, even though it's going to have a slight quilted pattern on top of it, actually gives me the visual break that I wanted, because I was getting too much wood going on here, too many browns, too much similarity. Yeah, there's shadows and there's highlights, but it was becoming one. If you took your, like I do now, you take your glasses off and squint at it, it becomes one mass of brown and you don't see the individual elements like you'd want to. So that is why I like that big blank color. I certainly won't leave it that way. I do want to put a quilt pattern over it, but it serves a better purpose now. And I'm also doing things like painting in what would be a seed bag or a flour sack or something like that. And here's the thing. If you are Jed Clampett or Granny and you're living I'm assuming the Ozarks, if you're living in the mountains, you're not going to write flour on the outside of your flour bag. Now, if you've gone down to Haney's General Store and you've picked up a bag of flour, and you might be reusing that bag or something, but you're not going to, it's a television conceit that it's going to say corn on the outside of it or seed on the outside of it, because the viewer needs to know what that is. But it's kind of like that old, you know where I'm going to go with this. It's kind of like having the Batman costume at Halloween that says Batman on it. If you can't tell what your costume is without having a name on it, you have failed miserably. So from my point of view, it's not important what is in this bag, only that it is, it takes up some space. It provides a little bit of ambiance. But it is not, unless it's a branded, gold medal flour bag, you don't need to see the gold medal flour logo on it. That's where I guess I would be getting to it. It's sort of like you want to make it more generic than that. Well, this paint has had a chance to dry, so I'm getting ready to pull out the water bowl and the decal material and see what kind of trouble I can get into with that. Now, I cannot remove that. That was something else that I did yesterday, is I removed the blanket from the bench and decaled it out separately. The way it dried in, I had to paint that in place because it's not coming up. And I'm wondering if I could use something like that, maybe find another place for it. I might have to cut that. But I'm going to put that decal down. I'm also working on some other details to kind of round out and finish this thing. I was wanting to put this rack of tools, and these are Jed's good tools because they still have some paint on them. And I want to put this rack of tools, and I'm going to mount that right here, and that'll fill out that one last space on the front here. And that'll give me a last bit of good silhouette. I just need to get around that knot that I've tied on there. And then there's only one last dead space after that, and that's kind of right here. I need to put some tiny little thing. I don't know what that's going to be yet. But that's it. Then we are a whisper hair, a cat hair away from being finished. Okay, I can already see that I like that better. We're seeing a lot more of the ivory color of the blanket or the quilt through the decal, and it's not as jarring as the colors that are on here. It's a lot more subtle. So I've got this one cut and ready to go, and it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to fold over the back of it. And I need to go ahead and cut off some of the that I'm not going to be needing because, see if it starts like that and then flops over the back of it. I just need to make sure that it doesn't hang ugliness over the back of it. The fact that it's not stretched out and perfect works in my favor, I think. I don't need it to be stretched out and perfect. But do I want that side up or do I want that side up? It's a question of whether I want that big blue shape. Actually, I think I do want that. Okay, so we're going to do that this way. Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday. Friday, the last work day of the week. Last work day on the Beverly Hillbillies jalopy. I say that with all the confidence of a person who has a fractional idea of what he's doing. I gotta say, I'm really embracing this slower pace of building because it's allowing me to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit more thoughtful about things, a little bit more planny. I know planny doesn't exactly translate well to video, but it does work in the long run. Now, it's allowed me to do things like, I don't know, order some lighting. A lot of times I'll get ready to build a model and I'll have the model sitting here and I'll go looking through my lighting and I realize I don't have the materials here that I need to do what I want to do, and that bums me out. Well, today I took time to do a small inventory of what I had, what I thought I needed, what was coming up, and allowed me to go ahead and place an order, which, knowing the fine people at Evans, will be here probably beginning to the middle of next week. They are remarkably fast. But as you see, we have precious few details left to put in. Yesterday I did, I'm not going to rehash what I did because you could simply rewind the video. I do that more for my own sense of peace of mind than for yours because you've just seen the video. This morning I will tell you what I've done. I took one of the decals that I had that I was using for quilting and I've made up this, which I am calling a rolled up carpet. And because this is a rolled up carpet, I can shove it in the back here and that will give me a little bit of bright color right in here. And I can kind of stack it something like that and maybe tie it down if I need to. But that gives me a little pop of color there. It makes sense. It doesn't take up a lot of space. I could even drape it across the back of Granny's rocker if I wanted to. No, that covers up too much. I like it better when it is. See, I've even done things like clean up the table. I think I want to stick it down in there, something like that. But what I need to do now is put a dull coat over that to seal that decal in. I'm down to the last details, like these moonshine jugs. I want to get them one more round of touching them up before I glue them down into the basket here. I've got some produce. I want to put a couple of ears of corn. I know that looks really tacky and does not look anything like the final item, but if you stick it down in here, it kind of, all I need is just a little spot of color. I don't know what this is. It might be some sort of wrapped up bundle of, I don't know, something. It could just be a sack of clothing. But I'm just peppering little bits of color here and there to kind of give me a better balance. Everything here is glued down except for this barrel. I need to put a wash or two on that. I decided to give Granny a barrel just to sit next here, just to maybe like an end table. I was going to put a nice little lamp on there for for the night trips. But I'm going to put this barrel right here next to the rocking chair, but a little bit slightly brighter brown than what some of the other browns around it are. Again, I'm just trying to pop a little bit of color here or there, and I did just a highlight on these brass balls on the bed frame for exactly the same reason, just to pop a finish there, just a little metallic hint, because I don't want all the stuff kind of blending into each other. But as we can see, we are done. I've got a little bit of motion here because I didn't want to glue these down. I like the idea that they kind of dangle and move a little bit. Got the racks in from yesterday. Put a little accent on that sharpening stone. But we're ready to break the old moonshine jug over this and launch it and call it done. And here, ladies and gentlemen, the finished Hillbilly Jalopy, or Granny's Hot Rod if you prefer. Last thing I did, because everything struggles to be the last thing you do. On a kit, you never know what the last thing you're going to do is, but sometimes you've got 8 or 10 things that you have to wait till the very end to do. The last thing I did was to splash some mud up on the running boards and along the tires and in the undercarriage. Just some regular old, I think that was MK, let me see, hold on, I'll be right back, talk amongst yourself. It is Vallejo weathering materials, and I just splashed some mud up on there. It wouldn't have all washed off in the time it took to get from Missouri to California. But let's do a quick turnaround here. Speaking of quick turnarounds, this was a 2-week project. And yes, I could have done it faster, but I kind of like I said, I like the slower pace. I am taking more time, and I think I'm getting better results. But I just love how that quilt turned out. Zoom in on that. I really like how that turned out. I think getting it the right scale was the important thing. Realizing that if I made it too small or too large, it wouldn't, the pattern, too large or too small, it wouldn't work out. It wouldn't look quite right. Zoom back out. And there's the 2 pots on that side. And what I'm calling the good tools. There's a good set of tools there that aren't quite the ones that get thrown in the rack. There's that rope, that demon rope, and the lamps in the back that are acting as running lights. Some stuff that I put in here. I put a couple of apples, some green things I'm going to call either squash or peppers, and then I've got the couple of jugs of Granny's medicine in there. The carpeting. Oh, I need to do that. That's something I need to do before I'm done. I want to blacken or color in the inside of that roll of fabric or carpeting, and I'm just going to use a little bit of this field blue. I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of blue on this thing. I noticed that as I was just wrapping up today. It's like outside of some stuff that's on the texture or on the printed texture of the rug and the quilts, there's not a lot of blue in here. So I did a little bit of, and you make of these what you will. I just had some blobby shapes that I've painted to fill in space. I'm calling that a loaf of bread, and that's the wrapper that's on it, so that they could make sandwiches on the trip. Close this, cover that back up. But and again, I was going to put the lamps in the lamps there, but my reference says those are empty. Those don't have any covering over top of the lamp. Like there'd be a little tiny bulb at the back, but there is no headlamp cover on that. So I left those nice and shiny. That's about the only chrome that you see left on the kit, other than the painted silver of the wash tubs. And my red and green toolbox is hidden underneath there. This is something you can really get lost in as far as adding detail and giving each little detail a story. And then you have to make sure that you're not overcomplicating things. You're not doing more than was actually in the show, or more than making something more complicated than it needs to be. I just realized that that bulk piece of cloth was not glued down. Neither was this last barrel. That is not glued down, so I need to go ahead and put a spot of CA on there and glue those guys down. Just so it doesn't go walkabout. It doesn't go akimbo. But there you go. And that is Granny's hot rod, looking absolutely nothing like a hot rod. This kit is still available, widely available. Certainly you can get it from the Cult TV Man. That's where I get my fine models. And I think it's something you really could have fun with, just making it yours, doing whatever you want to do with it to make it yours. And that, my friends, brings an end to the Granny's Hot Rod build, the jalopy from Beverly Hillbillies. Give you one last look at it. It was quite a fun build. I don't mind telling you. Like I said at the outset, I don't build cars. I don't do that a lot. It's good to stretch every once in a while, get into something that is out of your comfort zone. And again, the more fantastical the car, the more likely I am to make it. Unless there's a personal connection to me, for me to the particular model, or model of car. I don't think you'll ever see me do car models. There are other people that do it so well. My brother-in-law does very good car models. And I recently got him into lighting his headlights. So I think he's having a lot more fun with doing it that way. Made him the envy of everybody in his car club that he was lighting his models. So the poison spreads. But anyway, had a lot of fun with Granny's hot rod. Again, don't let the box fool you. If you buy this kit, you can have that jalopy. Now you'll have to add a lot of stuff to it, like I did. But that's where like they say in the song, "But Mama, that's where the fun is." So enjoy yourself next week. Where did that come from? I have no idea. But that's where the fun is. So until next week, when I'm itching to get back out into space, and if not space, at least low orbit. Enough of between this and the figures I've been doing. I've been kind of itching to get back out into space. So we'll have to see what next week brings. So until then, be good, be safe, be smart, be kind. Be back next week.
Well, now it's time to say goodbye to Jed and all his kids. They would like to thank you folks for kind